Hi folks, Dr. Dan here again. I wrote some email copy above. It talked about a statistic that came out from the Social Security Administration. It originally came out back in the 80s and it was quoted by a guy named Earl Nightingale, the late Earl Nightingale, who had a recording called The Strangest Secret. That was something that I really used to help build my initial practice up in New York. It's called The Strangest Secret. But anyway, he quoted this stat from the Social Security Administration, and if you read the copy above, what it said was that if you followed people from the time they started working till the time they retired 40 to 45 years later, the stats were, at retirement, 1 person was wealthy, 4 were financially independent, 5 were still working, 36 were dead, and 54 were broke and dependent on family and friends and relatives and mostly the federal government for their living for the rest of their life. Folks, I want to show you a way to avoid being the 54, hopefully even the 36, but to be in that top 5% who can actually enjoy your retirement years. So anyway, I've thought about that for many years. I've thought about what can we do to get to that level where you get to the top 5%. So I was reading a book a number of months ago by a guy named James Altucher. He had a book out called Choose Yourself. And I love the subtitle, which was Be Happy, Make Millions, and Enjoy the Dream, or Live the Dream. And but he had a podcast out, and it was about 5 or 6 days ago, and I listened to it. And he was interviewing a guest called his name was Hal Elrod. And he'd written a book about his experience. He was 20 years old, very successful, and he'd had an accident, a car accident, where he actually died for 6 minutes and came back to life. And he put his life back together, but he practiced 6 personal development principles every morning. And he distilled all these thoughts after reading. When he was in the hospital, he read all these books, but he distilled success down to 6 different things you can do every day in the personal development arena to become successful. And he based it upon a quote he heard from a guy named Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was a great personal development guru back in the 60s, ran through till he passed away in the early 2000s. But anyway, his quote was pretty basic. It was, your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. So folks, anyway, when I was listening to this podcast, he talked about a morning ritual. And it's actually in this book, and this is why I'm writing you today. I want you to buy this book and start something called The Miracle Morning. Dr. Dan began today. It's September, right? It's July 14th, 2015, and I started today. I've read about 25 pages into the book right now, but I saw what the 6 principles are, and I began practicing this morning at 5 a.m. I started, and the first 5 took me about just a little under an hour, and then I just finished off one of the other principles. As you can see from my shirt, you probably know what one of the principles is. It took about 20 minutes to do that today. But anyway, folks, buy this book and start the Miracle Morning. Start it today and try to do it for 60 straight days. You know, on that podcast with James Altucher, Elrod said that he just talked to Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, a few days before, and Kiyosaki was on day 69 of doing the Miracle Morning, and he says it completely changed his life. And so you think, Robert Kiyosaki completely changed his life. The guy's a multi-millionaire. But he's also very happy. And he says this is one thing that not only generated more money to him, but also generated more happiness. So I'm beginning today. I've got a mission to do it at least the next 90 days. So I recommend you join me. And then you can write to me after 30 days and see how your life has changed. It's The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Get it, folks. Read it and begin. Thanks again. Talk to you more later. Bye-bye.